Hi guys, sorry I am not there today. However, I have to go to the doctor. I'm not feeling very well, and I also need to go to the eye doctor because I'm out of contacts. And overall, I need to be at the doctor. So it's not a good idea for me at school around you guys right now. But I did want to make sure. Excuse me. I wanted to make sure that you guys still had me technically, like always. I don't like to leave you guys hanging when it comes to your math work. So I'm going to be going over some of the questions from your benchmark test, and the only thing you're going to need, you're going to need to go over to the table in just a minute. Don't go yet until I've given you my instructions. Sorry, to make sure this is there we go, focused. Anyway, so you're going to need to go over to the table by the wall that has your test, and then your pink little paper that tells you all your questions, and then you'll be able to see what you got on your test, okay? So you'll need to get your test, the pink paper, and then you can go to my teacher's desk and you can get 2 sheets for corrections. Today you're only allowed to take 2 sheets, no more than 2. So again, you're only allowed to have 2 correction sheets with you. So go ahead and take a second, pause the video, go get your test, your pink paper, and then 2 sheets from my desk for corrections. Okay, so hopefully you have that by now. And the first thing you want to do is go ahead and start numbering the first 16 problems that you got wrong. So if the first question you got wrong was number 2, start with number 2, 5, 7, whatever the numbers were that you got wrong. And I'm not going to be going through every single question because there were a lot of questions that you will be able to see why you got it wrong pretty quickly after checking it. But I know there were some questions that a lot of people struggled with because either the wording was not right or we didn't get to go over it as much as I would have liked to in class. But the first one I'm going to start with is number 7. So if number 7 is not the first one that you got wrong, well, first of all, you should have numbered, like I said, the first 16 that you got wrong. So if 7 is one of those, then okay, let's start here. If 7 is not one of those, go work on one that was previous to number 7. So either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Because I'm not going to go over 1 through 6. I'm starting with number 7 right now. So number 7, let me get it right here in front of me. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Okay, and number 7 was, another thing is that I printed this out from my home computer, so my numbers might be different than yours. So that's why I'm going to make sure I show it to you, so make sure you're on the same question that I am on. So my question is talking about the ladybug and the walking stick, and so if that's not number 7 for you, make sure you're turned to the correct one that I'm talking about right now. Okay, so again, it's talking about the ladybug and the walking stick. So it says the lengths of 2 insects are given below. A ladybug is 10 millimeters and a walking stick is 30 centimeters. What is the difference in length of these 2 insects in millimeters? So first of all, you need to know the word difference. That's a key word. Difference means to subtract. And it says, what is the difference in length of these 2 insects in millimeters? So we talked about how if 2 things, like for example, if 2 fractions don't have the same denominator, you cannot add or subtract those because they don't have the same denominator. It's the same thing in this case. The ladybug was 10 millimeters and the walking stick was 30 centimeters. So those are 2 different units. If they don't have matching units, you cannot work with them yet. So your strategy, what you should have written for number 7, excuse me, and then also if you just want to be checking this to make sure you're on the right track or you're not quite sure why you got it right, maybe you should also be checking it because next time it happens, you want to make sure you're getting it right for the correct reason. So we have the strategy big to small and small to big when it comes to conversions. And when we're doing, and this is a conversion question in case you're wondering, big to small is to multiply when we're doing conversions, and small to big is to divide. So in that's the first step. And the next thing you need to think to yourself, if they want everything in millimeters, I had to think to myself, well, this 30 centimeters is not in millimeters. So I have to go to my conversion chart, which I don't have in front of me right now, but you do, or you should. It should be in your test or in your journal. So everybody should have one out. So what you need to know, again, if they're trying to change everything into millimeters, you have to think to yourself, what is the conversion from centimeters to millimeters? And if you look at your chart, it says that 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. That's the second thing that you need to know. So going back to this, we have the Ladybug is already in millimeters, and our walking stick needs to change from centimeters to millimeters. So I know that I'm going from a big unit, which is centimeters, and trying to turn that into millimeters. So I'm going from big to small. So that is the multiplication here. So from there, if I'm trying to turn 30 centimeters into millimeters, I would multiply 30 centimeters times 10 millimeters. Okay, and that's mental math there, because you're multiplying by a power of 10. All I'd have to do is move my, I move my decimal back one time. So I know that 30 times 10 equals 300 millimeters. However, I'm not done yet, because it's not just asking me to convert centimeters to millimeters, it's asking me for the difference between the Ladybug and the walking stick. So my Ladybug is 10 millimeters, and my walking stick is actually 300 millimeters now, because 30 centimeters equals that 300 actually, if I'm trying to turn everything into millimeters. So if I want to know the difference, I'm subtracting. So I'm going to subtract 300 minus the 10. And that's pretty simple. That should give you the 290, which I believe was answer choice C. So on number 7, you should have answered C. Now, the other thing I'm not going to give you is why did you get it wrong? I'm giving you all the reasons why you should have gotten it correct, but you need to be able to identify why you got it wrong. And if you look at that paper, I added something at the very top. I said, if I can't understand clearly why you made your mistake, I'm not going to give you credit for it. If all you write down is, I didn't multiply, or I didn't know what to do. Okay, well, I've given you all the tools to kind of at least have a starting point on something. So if all you tell me is that you didn't know what to do, that doesn't give me that doesn't help me help you. Does that make sense? I have to be able to make sure that there's something that I can help you with. And if you're not giving me anything to help you with, it's a lot harder to make sure that we fix the problem before the START test comes, which is coming, okay? So that was number 7. All right, the next one I'm moving on to is number 9. And that's 9 for me. Hopefully it's a 9 for you as well. Where it's talking about the that Scott drank 3.5 bottles of water yesterday, and each bottle contained 1 2/10. So they want to know what's the total amount of water that he drank. So first of all, you need to understand that 3 5/10 is the same as 3.5. Okay, this 5 is half of 10, so that's 3.5 equals 3.5. So if we don't understand that, you need to put that into your brain, that this half right here is the same as 1/2. Okay, so it says that he drank 3.5 bottles, which means that he drank 3.5 bottles. So I'm just doing my little pretend bottles here. Okay, so 3 bottles completely that he drank, because that's the 3 that's right here. So that's 3 bottles, 1, 2, and 3. And then I drew a 4th bottle because that's going to represent the half of the bottle that he drank. Okay. Now, then it says that each bottle had 1 2/10 amount of water in it. So 1 2/10 here, 1 2/10, 1 2/10. However, that last bottle was only a half. So I have to figure out what is half of 1 2/10. Well, if I want to cut something in half, I can simply divide by 2. So I would do 1 2/10 divided by 2. And you could also think of 1 2/10 as 12. Just make sure that that decimal goes up to the top there. Okay, so first of all, you know 2 does not fit into 1. But you do know that 2 goes into 12 6 times. So then 6 minus 12 leaves you with 0. So that tells me that this last bottle over here is going to have that 6/10 over here, because that's half of 1 2/10. If I were to check that, 6/10 times 2 would give me 1 2/10. So now I know exactly what this bottle is equal to, this half bottle. So 1 2/10, 1 2/10, 1 2/10, and then half a bottle was 6/10. And I can either multiply 1 2/10 times 3 and then add the 6, or I can just simply add them all up. And that's what I like to do when it's little basic, simple numbers here, that they're easy to add up. So now I know exactly how much each bottle contained, and I can figure out what is 3.5 bottles going to be equal to. So we have 6, 8, 10, and 12. Carry the 1 over. And then I'm ready to add up the ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. And don't forget that decimal. When you're adding and subtracting decimals, you line them up, you drop down the decimal. Not when you're multiplying, just when you're adding and subtracting. So here we have 4 and 2/10, which should have given you answer choice B. A lot of people chose either A or C. I'm not sure how many of you understood, though, that 0.5 or and 5/10 equals a half. And I think that's where you got stuck. I know we've talked about it before, but those little things that need to get stuck in your brain that you can't forget. It's the difference between getting the answer right and getting them wrong. So on number 9, we should have answered B, 4 and 2/10, because this was 1 and 2/10, 1 and 2/10, 1 and 2/10, and then the 6/10 was that half of the 1 and 2/10. Okay. Oh, that one skipped ahead. Whoops. Whoops. Okay. The next one I'm working on, and this is a big jump because I am going from 9, and I'm going to jump over to number, actually, 7, 8, 9. Let me talk about number 10 really quick. And the only reason I want to talk about number 10 is because I think I saw some people that didn't even try to work it out on number 10. It gives you the equation, which model, or it says which model represents 1 and 2/10 divided by 3. Very few people actually solved this. And if you had solved that, that would have been like an instant brain click. So 1 and 2/10 divided by 3. If they give you the equation to solve, then solve the equation. So you should have put 1 and 2/10 divided by 3. Obviously, 3 is on the outside. And again, it's a decimal, so that decimal needs to go on top. Okay? And you know that 3 does not fit into 1. So obviously, that's going to be a 0. But you do know that 3 goes into 12 4 times, right? So 4. And minus the 12 leaves you with 0. Okay, but let's also break down this little bit right here. This 1 and 2/10 is your what? You should be saying the word total right now, because this 1 and 2/10 is getting broken up into 3 equal groups. That means that how much are in each group? 4/10. So you have a total being broken up into 3 groups, and 4/10 should be in each one of those groups. So if you had done that, and I say that because I know a lot of people didn't even try to solve it. They just tried to pick an answer and think that, that's how it works. No, solve it. Give yourself a better chance of getting it right by actually solving it. So number 10, again, it was 1 and 2/10 divided by 3, should have given you 4/10. That means 3 groups, and in each group, 4/10. 3 groups. That's key right there. 3 groups. So that automatically got rid of answer choices A and B because F, because F didn't even have, it was kind of weird. It was like 1 group and it didn't even make any sense. G had 2 groups. H and J would have been the best possible answer. So if you chose F or G, I don't think you even tried to solve the equation. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but I don't think that you understood what was happening. However, for example, J was not the correct answer, because if you count how many tenths are in there, it already has 1 and 2/10. It has 1 and 2/10, 1 and 2/10, 1 and 2/10. So that's 1 and 2/10 3 times. That's not breaking apart that 1 and 2/10 into 3 equal groups. And the only one that does that is H right here. So on number 10, you should have answered H. Okay. Excuse me. Moving on to 17. 17 is also a number that that I don't think anybody should have gotten wrong. You just had to look at it a little bit more carefully, and because we went over questions like that a lot, so kind of sad that people got it wrong. It wasn't as hard as it looked. You just simply had to read it carefully. Okay. So it gave you this model right here, potatoes, carrots, and corn. It was like a farm. The person had been growing food on the farm, Phoebe, sorry. Anyway, so it tells you the potato section is a square. So bling, bling, bling. As soon as you read that word square, your brain should have just started exploding. Brain, square, hello, all 4 sides equal, right? We talk about that all the time. And So that's not something, it's really not a question you should have gotten wrong. To me, like I tell you all the time, it's a reading test. It's not a math test. It's a reading. How well can you read the questions, okay? But going back to it, the potato section is a square with a side length of 7 meters. That means a side length. Not all 4 sides are 7 meters. Each side is 7 meters. So again, that potato section is, and I know mine's not a perfect square, but let's pretending because y'all know I don't have the best drawing, right? A potato section with four sides, and each one of them is 7 meters. Or 7 meters. 7, 7, 7, and 7. So just like that, all 4 of those should have been a 7, okay? And then it says the, sorry, the caret section is a square. So again, the caret section is a square, guys. Boom, bomb should be going off in your brain. Just hello, square, all 4 sides equal, right? The caret section is a square with a side length of 5 meters. A side is 5 meters, meaning each one of those sides is 5. Okay? What you're left with is this corn section that you have to figure out. Now, automatically, it's a rectangle, and you know that opposite sides of a rectangle are equal, right? So that means that if this side was 5, what should this side be as well? 5, right? So put a 5. Now, the next part was slightly more tricky, but it's not anything we haven't gone over. In fact, we went over it several times. So as soon as you see this, and if you're still confused right now, as soon as you see this, you'll be like, oh, I should have gotten it right. So if this whole side is 7, that means that this side had to be 7 as well, right? If this was 7, the whole side here had to be 7. So if we already know that this little part down here is 5, how much more do I need to make 7? How much more? From 5 to 7, I would need how much more? 2, right? Okay, are we on the same plane as I am? 5 plus 2 equals the 7, because these are opposite sides and they are equal to each other, right? So 7. So that means that, again, it's a rectangle. This corner section is a rectangle. So if this side is 2, then this side must also be a 2. Okay, so now I have every single one of my lines numbered off, because now I was able to figure out what was the length of each one of those sides. Now, getting to the juicy part of the question, what does it really want to know? What are they really asking me for? It says, what is the area of the corn section? Area. Area equals length times width, right? Okay, and again, that's something I know we've reviewed a lot. Area equals length times width. And if you didn't know the formula for area, all you had to do is go to your conversion chart. I've also said that before. You don't have to memorize all of your formulas. They're there for you in the test. You just have to remember to go back and flip back to that page for you. Okay? And again, they want to know the area of the corn section. So I really don't care about these potatoes, okay? And I don't care about the carrots. I only care about the corn. And for area, all I need is 1 length and 1 width. That's it. So all I need is 1 length and 1 width. And I simply have to multiply those 2 times each other. So if my length is 5 and my width is 2, all we have is 5 times 2. So area equals 10 square meters. And there's your answer. So on number 17, you should have answered A. Okay. So this was one that combined several skills, but it was pretty simple. I mean, it was not saying that it wasn't hard at first, because I remember the first time I saw this question and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really confused. But once I thought about it, I sat at it, I looked at it, I stared at it for a little while, I figured it out, and it all started to click. Bam, bam, bam. All these things started to go off in my brain. Okay. So that was number 17. Next we have is 18. And the reason I'm including 18 is not because, well, not say that. It's more because, again, it's not a math test. It's a reading test. It's all about how well you read. So let's read that one together. And hopefully this 18 is the same one that you have on your page. But this one has to do with the mileage. So it says, last month, Jim drove his car 2,718 and 3/10 miles. And I'm going to turn it over so I can see it better now. That brought the car's total mileage to 87,416 miles. What was the car's total mileage before last month? That key word right there, before. Okay, so let me read it one more time. Last month, Jim drove his car 2,718 and 3/10 miles. That brought the car's total mileage to 87,416 miles. What was the car's total mileage before last month? So before means I'm going into the past, right? If I'm driving, I'm adding on more miles, but I'm going into the past. That means I'm taking miles away because I'm pretending like I haven't driven those miles before. So the word before is telling you to subtract here, not add. So we have to take that 87,000. And you know what? I'm not going to really go over. I'm not going to work on that one because that's just basic subtraction. But I just need you to understand how important it is to read the text carefully. That word before means subtract, not to add. So if you got 18 wrong, it's most likely that you did that wrong. You added instead of subtracted because you weren't reading carefully. Okay? And so, like I said, I'm not going to go over that one because, again, that one was a reading question. That wasn't so much a just math question. 29 is the next one I want to go over. Okay, so 29 is one that I wanted to go over because I know several people. We did go over dot plots, but there was some wording in here. So again, like I said, I can't stress this enough. Reading test, not a math test. Reading test. Was a dot. So 29 was a dot plot. And the thing that seemed to confuse everybody the most was where here it says that it was 2 or more pets. Okay, so 2 or more pets signifies everything around, let me see, my marker will go, was everything here. Okay, so not the 0 and not the 1. So if you number these off correctly, I believe your numbers would be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9. We have 2, we have 1, and we have 4. So when I add those up, I'm adding them because that's how many people have more than 2 pets, 2 or more pets. So you cannot just forget to include the 2. It can't just be past the 2, 2 or more, so including the 2. So let's see. 9 and 1 gives me 10, 10 and 2 gives me 12, and then 12 and 4 gives me a total of 16 pets. So we have 16 people that have 2 or more pets in their home. But the question wants a fraction. A fraction. So we know that a fraction must have a numerator and a denominator. So I just drew my line to show my separation between my numerator and my denominator. Now going back to fractions, your basic understanding of a fraction, your denominator represents your total amount. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's what they want or what they don't want. It's your total amount of everything that is there. So if you go back to your dot plot and you add up all your dots, that should have given you 24. Okay. And then my numerator is going to represent what they are asking for. It's kind of like what is being shaded. Well, in this case, what's being shaded is the 2 or more pets, which is our 16 here. Okay. But we don't see 16 out of 24 as an answer choice. Why not? Well, look at that fraction carefully. 16 out of 24 are both even numbers, which means that they can be simplified. Okay? So I can start up by doing it by 2, but that's going to take a really long time because I know that it's going to give me an even number or give me an even, just keep on going and going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make rainbows for 16 and for 24. Okay? So a rainbow for 16 and a rainbow for 24. So I know 16 is an even number, so I know that 2 times 8 would give me 16. Okay. Anything times 3. 3, 6, 12, 18. No. 5, no. 2 is 8. So nothing times 3. 4, I know 4 times 4 would give me 16. And 4 times 4 is a double, so I don't want to write it more than one time. Okay, now I'm ready to do 24. Again, 24 is an even number, so divide by so 2 times 12 would give me 24. 8 times 3, or 3 times 8. 6 times 4, and nothing times 5. So when I'm looking at these rainbows, I'm looking for the, excuse me, I keep getting stuffy. What is the biggest number that they have in common here? And the biggest number that I see is the 8 here and the 8 down here. That means that I'm going to divide each of these by 8. So instead of having to divide simply by 2, I can do this all in one quick step and divide it by 8. Okay, I'm going to do 16 divided by 8, and then 24 divided by 8. Excuse me. So, I think even I might be missing one. So, 16 divided by 8 should give me 2. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm good. And then 24 divided by 8 should give me 3. Okay? And I know that I'm done here because 3 cannot be divided anymore. 2 could, but not 3. So they both would have to be able to be divided. In this case, only the 2 is and not 3. That's how I know that this fraction is done. So 2/3. And that would give you answer choice C, which is right there. C. Okay, so that was number 29. And a lot of these questions, I know that I gave you all the tools you needed to get the answers right, but what they did was they combined a lot of things at one time and they tried to confuse you. So you had to really understand each individual part and then be able to put them together, okay? Which is something we're going to work on ahead of the STAR test. So if you're panicked about anything, don't worry, I got you. I promise you, you're going to be just fine, okay? Those are things that we're going to work on up until the day of the test. And we're going to be practicing pretty hard. All right, and the last one I want to talk about today is number 38. That was a bar graph. It looked like that. And on this bar graph, the graph shows the number of bags of 2 brands of dog food that were sold at a store. 1 bar for day 5 is missing. Day 5 is missing. The number of brands of bags of brand Y dog food sold on these 5 days was 175. And brand Y was the black bar on here. So all the black bars are the ones that should equal out to 175. But if you notice over here on day 5, it's missing its black bar. So what I did here was I wrote down what I did know. I know that on day 1 it was equal to 35. On day 2 it was equal to 50. Day 3 was equal to 35. And then day 4 was equal to 20. What I'm missing is day 5. And what I also know though is that when I add all these numbers plus my missing number here, it should equal out to 175. So in order to figure out what, sorry guys, my nose is going crazy. In order to figure out what day 5 would be, I would need to add up the days that I do know. Because I know my total. So first I want to add up my days that I do know. So I'm going to add up my 35, my 50, my 35, and my 20. Okay, I'm going to add again. I'm going to add up the days that I do know. So I'm just adding up these days over here. Okay. 5 and 5 equals 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let me double check my work. 5 and 5 is 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yes. So day 1 through 4 equal 140. Okay. Again, I don't know day 5, but I do know that I should have a total of 175. So what can I do to figure out what my last day is? Well, if I know days 1 through 4 equal 140 and my total is 175, to figure out day 5, all I would have to do is subtract 175 minus the 140. And when I do that, I get 35. Okay? So if I wanted to check that, I could simply add up all of these numbers together and it should give me the 175 right there. Okay? And then your answer choices were also bar graphs. So you had to be able to read the bar graph, you had to be able to solve all of this, and then be able to find the matching bar graph that went with it. So I'm looking for a bar graph that shows just day 5 of 35. And the only one that shows that was answer choice G, which was this one right here. So reading that carefully, between the 30 and the 40 was the 35. Okay. Those are all the ones. Oh, no, I'll wait till I come back to school for that one. I know I didn't go over every single question, guys. I know I'm not there, but promise you that I'm out for a good reason. And I'm trying to get better so that I don't miss any more days. I will be back on Tuesday. No doubts about that. Do not take this home with you. It is not homework. Your homework is your next days of your daily teaks. So whatever 2 days were next in your daily teaks, those are due on Tuesday. Okay. Do not take this home. Make sure everything is tucked inside of your test and stick it back on the table in a nice, neat pile the way that you saw it. Please do not leave my test messy. I don't want to see classes being mixed up together. Everything should be nice and beautiful at the end of the day so that when I come back on Tuesday, I feel like you actually got some work done, okay? If you have more than 8 questions that need to or more than 16 questions that need to be done, you will be working again on Tuesday. Hopefully, I don't have too many of those people. I know that I do have some, but not everybody. I expect you to be on your best behavior with this substitute. I'm not sure who the sub is. Just please do what they ask you to do. Either way, you should have headphones on right now and be on your best behavior as always. I'm trying to make sure I don't forget anything. Sorry guys, no Max and Rocky. They are already asleep because it's kind of late. And they are super lazy dogs. I don't know if y'all know that already, but I will try to record some video next weekend. Next weekend is spring break. Yay! I'm so excited. But I'll try to get some good spring break footage of them for you guys so that you can enjoy some of that. Don't forget to remind your parents about field trip payments. Open house is tomorrow night, Tuesday. And field trip payments are due no later than this Friday. I need that money Friday. If your parents cannot make that payment by Friday, please just tell them to talk to me. Maybe parents just need like another week or something like that. But they have to tell me as soon as possible so that I can expect that money to come in. Otherwise, I cannot hold your spot for the field trip. Anyway, so yeah, just have a good day. Make smart choices. And I love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye. Oh, buddy.